right, Andy, we should, are you ready for just to start
Yeah,
letting
let's
in
get started. Let's just
the
start rolling.
hordes? Not so many people so far, but
Sorry.
okay. Okay.
Awesome. Hey guys, welcome back to New York Augmented Reality. It's a pleasure uh, and a privilege to have you all back with us tonight. Let's just wait a few more minutes as the audience starts rolling in, just another minute or so, and we'll get started. Feel free to turn your camera on so others can see your beautiful faces and feel more likely to reach out and interact with you. Brian, it's good to see you. Such a pleasure. Nick, what's up, man? Let me make you co-host.
How's it going?
Hey, what's up, Nick? Cool. Okay. Let's see who we got here. Dad, welcome. Thanks for joining. It's always good to have you. Hi, Mark. How are you? Welcome. Sweet. Josh. That's good. Okay, so I'll get started. Welcome back to New York Augmented Reality. It's a pleasure to have you with us tonight. Barry and I worked really hard the past few weeks to organize the meetup and bring you some great speakers for tonight's event, including David Rose, Dana Loberg, Antonio De Rosa, and Patrick and Wade from Patch Reality. And I really think you're going to enjoy tonight's event. So thank you very much for joining. Before we get started, I want to take a moment to thank Barry Seff, the father of the New York Augmented Reality, who nurtures this group like his son. And without his help, these events would not be possible. So Barry, if you are there, feel free to introduce yourself.
Yes, I'm Barry Seff, co-organizer with the wonderful Andy, your host. So he does probably a lot more work than I do, but it's great to work with him. So yeah, thank you. I am former product manager for Merck KGAA for the display group, and now I'm supporting a satellite technology company as well as doing product development for a Hanukkah product line. So a little bit more analog. And I'm currently looking for VCs or connections to SpaceX. So if you do have any of these connections or talk further, please feel free to private message me or email me. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Barry. Beautiful. If anyone wants to introduce themselves randomly, just maybe raise your hand in the participants panel and we could unmute you or something. Try that out. Also, want to thank everyone who has joined our group. We now have over 720 members, and we've had over 34 incredible speakers over the course of our meetups. And this is our 10th consecutive meetup, so today's a special day. So we started in November, and we've had 10 consecutive meetups, so that's all really exciting, and I look forward to continuing to grow the group. A new report published by Facebook says they saw a 74% jump in the interest of groups related to AR and VR, and we're really excited to be an integral reflection of that growth. And although AR is an exciting space, as I mentioned in the past, we also recognize that behind the rose-colored holographic glasses are isolated developers and designers looking for ways to connect with others passionate in the space to create exciting projects that will inform the industry's future. So here are some of the ways we're looking to foster community. First, use the chat. So since this is a meetup, you're supposed to meet. So we encourage you to say hi to others in the group that interest you or people you might want to become friends with. Other reasons to use the chat include asking questions to the speakers. So after the presentations, we're going to have a 5-minute Q&A, so you'll have the opportunity to interact with the speakers and ask anything that is on your mind. Also, at any point, feel free to chime in to everyone in the group and send a message, whatever that may be. Feel welcome to send a message to everyone. Additionally, we set up a Slack channel to help continue the conversation after the event. You can join via the link that Barry's going to post in the chat. And it's a good way to meet other like-minded folks. And we'll also be posting some of the latest news in AR and job opportunities that come our way, such as this one from Nick Chirakuri, the founder of Third Eye Gen. So Nick, feel free to share the opportunity with the group.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for your time. Thanks, Andy and Barry, for organizing this. Just a brief background. We actually have a location as well near World Trade Center where we're going to try to host monthly meetups for anyone interested in AR or even general tech. I think Barry's been here. We can have like 40, 50 people here. So hopefully we can do that later this year and once a month network. Just some background about Third Eye. We make smart glasses as well as software. We work a lot in the healthcare space. We just partnered with AT&T for first responders. So yeah, we're looking for anyone who's just interested in the space. We just opened this location in New York recently. Yeah, we're just looking for anyone, regardless of how deep their background is, or just anyone who's passionate about the space. And please take a look online. I'll share my email here, and if you're interested, reach out, and hopefully we can all meet up in person later this year. So that's it, and thanks everyone.
Awesome. Thank you, Nick. So
Yep.
Lastly, we have an incredible workshop coming up with Alex Brott and his team from Mousepack on August 9th. So feel free to join that. He's going to be teaching you how to create your own snap lens in under an hour. So that's August 9th. It will be a daytime event. And then as Nick just mentioned, we're planning our first in-person New York Augmented Reality meetup on August 23rd. We're in touch with some awesome speakers, and Nick, who you just met, will be there. So mark your calendar. It should be a great event. So excited about that. And now, what's an AR meetup without mentioning Pokemon Go? And for those who thought the game was dying out, you're wrong. In fact, 2020 was its biggest year yet and projected to be even larger, with the first half of 2021 for Pokemon expected to gross over $642 million from in-app player spending. So that's the first half of 2021 projected to gross over $642 million. And actually, in a new report by Sensor Tower on July 6th, Pokemon Go and Niantic announced that they have surpassed $5 billion in player spending, a huge milestone for any game, not to mention an augmented reality app. So I just wanted to highlight that during the meetup. And Pokemon Go still reigns as the #1 strategy game on the iPhone, and that's after 5 years since its initial launch. Some may view Pokemon Go as a one-hit wonder, but we are here to prove augmented reality is here to stay and is in fact a lot deeper than catching a Pokemon in your backyard or Central Park. Researchers at Johns Hopkins released a study connecting a brain-computer interface to an amputee, allowing him to feel augmented reality holograms. So I just wanted to share this video.
Randomized.
This is
Lost you, Andy.
Go for all 4. Go big or go home.
So each brick has an associated weight.
Lost the last 10
corresponding
seconds,
to,
Andy.
the number on the brick, and what he's trying to do is organize them by weight, just using the feel of the bricks.
Show labels.
So definitely one way to conduct haptic feedback tests, but is it really necessary? Can we get enough sensory data input from other senses, such as the human retina, to activate the same response? And that is potentially a good question for David Rose. The Brickit app launched this month, and it's a fantastic use case of image recognition and the possibilities of augmented reality. As you can see in the demo, the app allows you to find objects to build out your vast pile of Lego bricks you have lying in your basement. So just snap a picture and see what you can create. This is not a paid promotion, and TechCrunch also believes this is a good acquisition target for Lego to help them attract a new, fresh audience. It's available to download on the App Store, and Barry's going to be posting a link. I highly recommend that you download it to check it out. This fall, botanical gardens from around the world are hosting AR artworks from major artists, including Ai Weiwei and El Anutsui. The project, entitled Seeing the Invisible, was organized by the Jerusalem Botanical Garden in partnership with the Outset Contemporary Art Fund. And then lastly, DigiLens and Mitsubishi Chemical announced a partnership to bring a plastic version of their waveguide technology to market. So with the plastic technology, the waveguides perform at the same level as glass waveguides, but at the same time, they reduce the weight and manufacturing costs, ultimately aimed at making head-mounted displays more attractive to consumers. And while we recognize the opportunities in the space, we're also realistic of its limitations, but there are companies and people working behind those companies making the impossible possible, and we're lucky to have them here with us tonight. First, ClearWater.AR, we're lucky to have David Rose with us. David Rose is an MIT lecturer, author, and serial entrepreneur, offers a unique perspective on the next platform of spatial computing, what he calls supersight. His last book, Enchanted Objects, is one of the definite texts on designing the Internet of Things. David wrote the seminal patent on photo sharing, founded an AI company focused on computer vision, and was VP of Vision Technology at Warby Parker. David is known for translating complex technologies into delightfully intuitive new products, like the one he is showing us tonight, ClearWater.AR, an open AR platform for boaters and anglers. It's ways for the water world. David's product designs have been featured at the MoMA, covered in the New York Times, Wired, The Economist, and parodied on the Colbert Report. David's apartment was featured in a New York Times video called The Internet of Things, where he shared some examples of how to incorporate magic into mundane objects. A Google Earth coffee table that responds to gesture, Skype cabinetry in the living room, and a doorbell reminiscent of Mrs. Weasley's click, which rings when a family member is on their way home. He even got a Jon Stewart to belly laugh when he was a guest on The Tonight Show. David, it's a pleasure to have you here with us.
Hey, thanks you guys for inviting me. Let me go ahead and share my screen. I hate it when people say, let me go ahead and share my screen. I've always, I've done a lot of fishing, but I've never been very good at it. This is me catching a lot of small fish when I was a kid. So I thought, maybe this is an opportunity to use technology to help people boat more safely and fish more productively on the water with AR. And if you've ever bought a fish finder, you can spend thousands. Like this was a $4,000 fish finder from Humminbird that I bought when I started thinking about this project last summer, and they're super expensive. They're really complicated, and they really don't show you the thing that you really want to know, which is to project all of the information out in front of you in context. And maybe the fact that they're so hard might even be a problem for boating. So our vision when I started working on this project last summer was like, could we do X-ray for water? And could we show you where you should fish and the topo map below, and maybe how deep to cast and with what lures, and then maybe even keep people more safe when they're boating. There was just a death in Boston on Boston Harbor over the weekend, and I started looking into the statistics around that, and there are a lot of I think ways that we can help with boating safety. So that was the aspiration. What I first noticed was in terms of doing world scale AR, there's a peak visor, there's sky view for map charts, sun seeker, which shows you the path of sun at different times of year. All of these kind of assume that the information is at infinity. And the reason that that's important is because no one has figured out how to do a plane anchor on a mirror, right? So you'd really like to land the couch or whatever you want to land on this surface, especially if you're doing waves for the water world. But it's an undulating surface that isn't consistent over seconds when you're trying to anchor stuff. So that was kind of the big challenge of the project. So the first, I kind of want to walk you through just over the next 10 minutes, kind of what was the path and what have we learned, and would love your feedback and ideas. So the first thing we did was we started designing AR elements to say maybe we could create hazard buoys, let people drop in pins like you do on a fish finder, maybe predictively place kind of the best place to fish, in kind of a golf tee, golf hole kind of metaphor. And we immediately realized that there was a lighting challenge here. Like you can assume certain lighting conditions inside. On the outside, you have huge range of brightnesses and glaring situation. And so kind of that was the first challenge, was to, how do we create these things that you can see a long way away and that show up in different lighting conditions. And then we went out and talked to subject matter experts, people that catch a lot of fish for a living as opposed to me. So we talked to this bass pro, Jacob Wheeler. We actually attracted this John Hunter to be one of the founding team. He's a full-time bass pro. And Chad Miles, who hosts a show on PBS. Chad got very excited about the idea of using of scanning in 3D the fish you just caught to not only measure it but also share the 3D version on social, which we haven't built, which I'd love to build if anybody's interested in helping with that one. What we did do though is we reached out to the mapping community of people that have these corpuses of marine maps. There are three primary players. Navico was the company we started working with first. This is a shot of Dale Hollow, which is a lake in Kentucky. Actually, Navico was just acquired by Brunswick 2 weeks ago for $1 billion. So really fits into Brunswick's goal of kind of doing self-driving boats and electric boats. And then we started dropping, fish flags all over. Well, this one's in Brookline, where I live, and to see whether we could use smoothing in order to kind of correct errors in GPS. This shot of Harvard Stadium, like running the stairs at Harvard Stadium with Strava, made me believe that we might have the spatial resolution to be able to pull this off for fishing. Then we started testing on land. This is my kids' park outside the school. Oh, and we also dropped real 3D fish below the flags that mark where the fish are, so that they would be stuck there forever orbiting the fish. And let me take you a little bit through the app experience as it is today. So we have an app we built in Unity, and we also are working on and would love help with kind of making that work in different Nreal and other AR glasses. So the startup experience kind of tries to motivate what you're going to see. We explain that you just hold up your phone, you'll see these buoys, you can drop markers. One of the things we really learned was people, when they're first doing AR, look down first. So designing something for the looking down experience became important. So when you look down, you first see where you are, your orientation, and then as you raise the phone up, you start seeing elements over the projection of what's in front of you. The other thing that we learned is that if you're true to the world and you use perspective, things get very small as they get far away. So if you're trying to guide someone to a fish flag that's a mile away or even a half a mile away, it's very hard to identify that. And so we created this sky dashboard that just carries all of the points of interest at a consistent size, just so you know that there's a fish flag behind that island, for example. So here's one of our first tests on Walden Pond outside of Boston. I was just standing in the shallow water. You also notice when you bring the phone up, we kind of cast a set of pluses out over the surface to kind of try to motivate the idea that there's a difference between the surface plane and the and the 3D lines that are cast in front of you. We have a short video that kind of is geared towards the fishing community.
Have you simply wanted to see through the water, find contour lines, see your waypoints, and know exactly where to cast? Or to see through the water to steer clear of rocks, shoals, or any other underwater dangers? Fish finders are expensive, complicated, and require hands-on operation. They don't allow you to fish and operate a boat totally hands-free.
Introducing Clear, the only glasses that show you exactly what you want to see in fishing and boating. Just hold your phone up to see underwater terrain. It's as if the water were perfectly clear.
I think I'll go on. I'll put a link to the rest of that. Just in the kind of most recent work that we've been doing is with Freedom Boat Club, and it's a different problem in that it's saltwater. There are 4 Freedom Boat Clubs locations around Boston. This is all Boston Harbor, and it's really complicated to navigate in Boston Harbor. Like there's half a mile between buoys, which 17 football fields, and you try to find the nun and the can in this top photo. You see it? You see like something out there, but can you tell what color it is? The marine navigation field has been kind of trying to make these larger and larger and higher. They really want to be 35 feet tall in order to see even broad daylight. And in the fog, we were just out on Boston Harbor in the fog on Friday. There's really a problem to see where you are, and looking at a chart while you drive is a very bad idea. Instead, the plan is to not only put these markers in freshwater lakes, but also as lateral navigation on Boston Harbor and other harbors to kind of guide people through the arches or croquet wickets or what have you. So I think we can, address a lot of the reasons why people have recreational boating accidents, and with this kind of augmentation, and we can also address people colliding with other boats. So the data is actually out there for boats have to, above a certain size, have to broadcast their position and destination and berth and size and speed, and all of that we can start to also project into people's field of view. So the plan is to launch the app version and a glasses bundle, and I think kind of zooming out a little bit, I think we'd like to be an open platform, and would love people's advice if you have it on kind of how to quickly ingest other data streams that answer the questions that people have when they're out on the water. So specifically, I think we've raised about $500,000 for the business and are looking to raise more. I'd love to talk to people about strategy for kind of creating a more vibrant, open platform for data. And I think our data still doesn't look dimensional enough. If anybody has advice on kind of how to highlight this sandwich between the water surface plane and the bottom plane, in terms of like these columns that either animate in or that show you the safe places to go, I'd love for if people have ideas about that. Thanks very much. As Andy mentioned, I just finished a book that's coming out this fall called Supersight, and maybe I can do a separate talk about that, but somehow it's already on Amazon. Who knows?
Thanks, David. That was awesome. Passing it off to Barry for questions.
Yes, thank you so much. Great presentation. So we're wondering, where do you get the data for the underwater object capture? Are you getting that from like
The topo data,
from maps or and then any other,
yeah,
man-made stuff.
we have a partnership with this company, Strike Lines, which has a lot of the saltwater data, the data elevation models, which we get in terms of geotiffs, and then we have a pipeline where we create the topo lines over the top of those data elevation models.
Sweet. There's a question about is it limited to fishing type of boats or can be any type of commercial boats, ferries, anything like that, charters.
Yeah, well, um, in terms of the data that we get for the so-called AIS data, the automatic information system, that that by law is on. There's a class A and a class B, but any boat that's larger than 60 feet must broadcast its position frequently. And there are a lot of smaller boats that just choose to be seen and be known to other boats by broadcasting their positions as well.
You could get like Coast Guard and local police stuff as well.
Where those boats are, I think military boats don't have to be on AIS, obviously for for security reasons. But we're getting the AIS from a company called Marine Traffic.
I'm just thinking about the safety issues there. Okay, and just in the general AR space, as a former Warby Parker person, what do you think about eyewear manufacturers being involved in developing ARs and AR devices collaboratively or by themselves?
Well, as we always said at where we like glasses are one of the most highly considered purchases. People like do the home try-on kit. They go into the stores multiple times. They don't trust one friend. They ask like 8 friends before before they make a decision. So I think it's a pretty important. It's pretty important to offer a lot of choice. And I mean, my favorite idea for what the AR glasses providers should do is you should just send in your glasses, and they would scan and 3D print your glasses, and then put the tech into those and send you back both pairs.
Hmm. Yeah, I'll plug the Vision Expo in New York City. Hopefully that'll come back to the Javits Center. It was a great show.
Yeah, I've
It
been
is a
there.
great show. Yeah, so maybe we can meet up there. Okay, another question. When do you expect it to become available uh, as a developer kit or more widespread?
Um, we're launching the app in August. I'd love help with creating more like the framework to make this an open platform. Like I don't really know how to do that. I've never created a big open platform that makes it easy for somebody to like inject their own, like for example, I talked to somebody from the National Park Service, and they said in the Florida Keys, there are lots of national parks where people shouldn't be fishing. No one knows that they're there, and maybe if we could make that more evident. And then I immediately thought of this Cristo Island Wrap project, where it's almost like an AR of what you could make. I mean, maybe that would be too obnoxious to make that a national park uh, indicator, but that might be one path to, you know, ingesting a new data feed that's useful for some audience. As
Yeah,
a,
I mean,
as a layer.
I love those shows with the gator capturing. So you probably could also use it for those guys down in the bayou all over. I'm not sure how involved people are with tech, but if they're letting people do reality shows on what they do for a living, hey, why not? Really interesting for us city dweller people. Cool. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you, David.
Sure thing.
Thanks for being so transparent with your sources as well, and you're always welcome to come back on to introduce your book.
Oh, thanks.
We love having you here.
Here's my email if people are interested in helping or have data or ideas on how to do open platform design.
Beautiful. Nice email.
Thanks.
Okay. Sweet. Next up, we have Dana Loberg from Leo.AR, the #1 consumer-facing AR app on the App Store. So Dana's the founder and CEO of Leo.AR. Dana is a Yale alum and graduate of Stanford StartX, 500 Startups, BetaWorks, and Deutsche Telekom Accelerators. She sold her first company, Movie La La, to Giphy Cat, and currently resides in Austin, Texas. Dana is born and raised in Los Angeles, California, and originally an artist. She shifted from an artist to technology in 2008 when she moved from New York City to San Francisco. Dana has combined ability to visually capture where the markets are going and has both the right and left brain to execute a company like Leo.AR. AR requires a lot of creativity and imagination, as well as an analytical mindset in order to execute an AR startup and marketplace successfully. So we're really excited to have you here with us, Dana.
Thank you. I didn't realize you were going to do the whole bio word for word. Thanks for the intro. Let me quickly share my screen. And everyone can see it, right? Let me expand it. Okay. We are Leo.AR, and it is one of the leading consumer-facing AR apps today. I gave you a little bit about my background. I was going to share actually to the group, just in case there's other entrepreneurs wondering how I got started. Leo.AR was not something I had planned to build. I originally started Leo.AR as Mojilala. Mojilala was a sticker marketplace. So if you think of emojis and stickers and Line, the chat app, Line was sending millions of stickers a day, making $300 million a month or a year, sorry. And so I started to build a marketplace in Silicon Valley for sticker artists to submit stickers. And then I started to see a bunch of people using our sticker app onto the camera. So I knew things were moving from chat apps to the camera as the next platform. And then we were starting to recognize things in the camera actually before ARKit even launched, because we kept thinking like people would record video and we'd be able to smartly suggest animated 2D stickers to apply to the image or the video to augment the video. And obviously what Instagram did for photos, we wanted to do for video. So how Instagram made a really bad photo beautiful, we wanted to make a really boring video really more fun and fantasy and interesting using 3D objects or 2D objects. We thought it would be stickers, and then ARKit hit, and then we were like, oh my God, it's not 2D, it's 3D. We need to build a whole new 3D app, which is augmented reality, which ultimately became Leo. And being one of the first in the Apple App Store, and then also later on in Android, we really didn't know what to expect, how people were going to use AR. We just knew we wanted to build the simplest, easiest app for anyone to create AR videos. And so here's a quick kind of tutorial. I'll just speak over it. It instantly opens the camera. You can choose from a wide variety of categories. There's a dinosaur category, a farm category, animal category, trains, alphabet, you name it. And you can add as many 3D objects as you want. You can have hundreds of objects or one object. You can resize it. You can add filters. You can add text. You can add music and also stickers as well as the video. And it's obviously very easy to use. We've seen 2-year-olds and 3-year-olds use our app. They get super excited to see dragons. And then there's this discovery feed where you can see other videos that people are creating within Leo and kind of get re-inspired with new videos that you want to create. We also have like 3D portals. We have AR drawing. We really started to like have a huge breadth of ways people can use AR within Leo, which is, it's been pretty interesting. This is kind of just the static video of like how it works, but I just showed you in the video, so you don't need to see it. So being early in the space has been interesting because we get to see kind of the behavior and the usage of augmented reality from consumers. We were first thinking it would be teenagers on TikTok and Instagram wanting to change and superpower their videos, but it ended up being like all children using our app, which is really surprising for us because it wasn't what we'd expected. But I'll just show you a few videos of how people are using it. This is pretty standard where you have the girl in the living room with all the wild animals. And obviously during COVID, when people weren't able to go outside, it was a great way to kind of bring nature in your home. Children love to dance and play. So we'd see a lot of teachers using AR in the classroom for dance performances or book reports about characters in the book, etc. This is like the kids with astronaut hats dancing with the astronaut. And this is a very common thing. Like the parents love playing with technology with their children, especially this recent generation that's way more dependent on technology, both for their livelihoods and jobs, lifestyles, etc. So we do see a lot of parents taking videos with their kids and creating these moments that are pretty special. This is obviously done in India. So AR is obviously it's a huge cross section of people using it and in various different countries. This video is pre-COVID. Obviously, a lot of the technology helped to impact the education space. If you can imagine, you're in your science class and you're learning about DNA and you're super bored and you're reading it out of a book. With augmented reality, you can have like a real physical, like, the nucleus, the DNA, like a human cell in front of you, and you can make it big and you can make it small, and you can kind of understand more about the size and the evolution of things. And I think about it when it comes to like the size of a whale, or when you're learning about space. Like I think AR is going to have a huge impact in education. Here's an example of like a teacher re-engaging children using the moon and the earth for giving assignments, which is a great way to get kids excited.
Are you ready to explore the space? Yes. Come on, get to the space. Let's go together.
And then you see a lot of the kids, these are the various ways that they're using it in their classrooms. On the right side, there's a kid giving a book report on the summer book he had to read. And then this main character was a horse. So he uses the AR horse to kind of discuss his project. And then on the left, there's a kids in the creative art classes that are drawing the background and then adding on the objects as 3D images to
is the jungle because
make it interesting.
Pandas live there because there's lots of bamboo to eat. And then birds live there because there's very high trees that they can live in. Tigers live there because there's lots of hiding spots and there's grass everywhere. And they can pounce on their predators.
So Leo has been featured App of the Day by Apple 5 times in the US and in many other countries. And we've also been doing some partnerships during COVID, specifically for businesses that have been hurting. Obviously, there's no one able to go to stadiums and participate and cheer their teams on. So we've been able to build mascot categories within Leo so that people can create videos with their favorite mascot while their team is playing on TV. And it's actually like a really good way to kind of engage the younger audience. And fans love it. Obviously, they get their favorite mascot in their homes. There's like a quick example. This is a German soccer league team. And as far as any like follow-up, here's my email and my LinkedIn. I do a lot of articles about entrepreneurship and videos that I think are pretty interesting to see in the AR consumer space. I post a lot on LinkedIn. And if there's any kind of React Native or Unity or 3D artists that are interested, we are going to be opening up a marketplace very soon for Leo so that artists can get like right in front of the consumer and sell their 3D objects to the users, which will be the first time they'll be able to kind of get direct contact to consumers, something that we're really excited to do. So if there's anyone interested, like feel free to reach out via email. That's it.
Thank you, Dana. You are an inspiring example of an entrepreneur in today's technological environment. And I'll pass it off to Barry to ask some questions that we received from the audience.
All right. Well, David had a question about what model should we add to the water world. I can see that leap to his app, which is great. We love collaboration, like whales or. Do you have anything like that in the?
Oh yeah, we have a whole water category.
H2O.
We have like dolphins, whales, It's actually pretty popular. Octopus, because they kind of like float and their tentacles kind of fly everywhere. So the kids love seeing kind of the sea animals floating in the sky. It's pretty robust. We have fish, we have puffer fish. Yeah, you can check in our app. There's like a pool category, we call it.
So do you have, to piggyback on that, do you have partnerships? You're talking about partnerships with like soccer clubs and things. Like, what about partnerships with physical locations, like an aquarium or a garden, like Andy showed you? Are you working on those type of things as well?
No, I had a pitch once for like the Marriott Hotel, and the Marriott like San Diego would have its own kind of AR experience in the lobby. So it would be promoting the San Diego Zoo, or if it was in New York, it would show you kind of like the Empire State Building, like sightseeing places in AR, but we didn't close the deal. But I can imagine there being a lot of ways to kind of enhance our existing worlds when we're waiting around or we're bored, like in the lobby of a hotel, or there's just so many businesses that can use AR to enhance it. But we're still like pre-series A and early seed stage, and we can only take on so many partners. And the professional soccer league just happened to come across because of the Deutsche Telekom being in Cologne, Germany as their headquarters for T-Mobile. So I haven't had the time yet to like reach out and get more brand partnerships, but it's way beyond just like TV and entertainment characters, for AR.
Oh, very nice. Cool. Thank you so much. Really loved it, and wish you all the best with your growth.
Yeah, thank you so much.
You can put your email address out there for everyone to contact you in case you didn't. I don't see it on here yet.
Sure,
But,
I'll do
yeah.
the place to download the app if people are interested or if they have kids.
Is it a free app to download?
It's free, yeah. So like most like 25% of the objects are free. We have 1 week free trial and a subscription. So there's 2 ways of doing it for free, yeah.
And do you guys create like the 3D models in-house, or do you download?
We do it all in-house right now,
Everything's
yes.
in-house. Very cool. Awesome. Thanks for joining. I think we have one more question from Sun Kim. I'll just read it. In the future, the walls between platforms, this is for you, Dana. So in the future, the walls between platforms may gradually fall down, which allows content creators to shine. How would you like the direction to be? More as a content creator or as a platform provider?
Yeah, currently I feel the big platforms are other than Snapchat's pretty progressive in AR. The other ones are pretty slow when it comes to distribution of this technology. And I would love for Leo to become the place that you create and share AR videos, because I feel even when I record a video, I don't know where to share. It doesn't really fit Instagram. It doesn't really fit Snap. It doesn't really fit TikTok in a way, because AR is so unique in being able to like create these whole new worlds around you. So I'd love for it to become a platform versus being like another Unity competitor where I'm trying to be a content creator for everybody else.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yep.
Next up, we have Antonio de Rosa joining us from Bangkok, Thailand tonight. Antonio approached the world of communication and marketing from a young age and started in the video game industry, where he has been in charge in various roles, from graphic designer to the project manager. He then completed studies with a master in communication and marketing, specializing in creative direction. Afterwards, he worked in big ad agencies as a web designer, senior graphic designer, and art director. He started to gain significant reputation from his concepts on the web regarding future Apple products, which you'll see in a few minutes. I find them very interesting, such as the iWatch in 2010 that anticipated the launch of the Apple Watch by 5 years, in addition to a long list of acclaimed iPhone mock-ups published on the most acclaimed internet magazines in the world. He continues his career in network marketing, becoming one of the first chief design officers in the industry, a role with which he won the top direct selling product 2017 and 2017. ADR Studio Marketing and Communication, his design firm in Singapore, continues to serve with success. and professionalism with customers from all around the world. So it's really an honor to introduce Antonio De Rosa, who's here with us tonight.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for having me. My speech is a bit different because I see that we are focusing on AR and VR from app point of view or something that it's actually on the market. My vision is a bit different because I'm working behind the curtain. I'm a concept designer, so I'm trying to bring on the screen of the user something that doesn't exist in this moment. A lot of time overtaking the boundaries about hardware development or hardware limitation. So what you are going to see on the screen in a few minutes maybe could be something that we don't know, can never exist because it's too complicated or too difficult to create. Anyway, it's a mixing between art and a wish of a user, or AR user, VR user, to have something different on the market actually. So let me share the screen. I just want to show you from a design perspective, what we can have in this kind of environment. We know that in 2010, when iPhone arrived on the market, everything started to change from a design point of view, the usability of the application and the hardware itself, the technology, and of course also the business model. So the revolution was complete in 360 degrees. Before we had some handhelds, some phones that have a different concept, completely different concept from the iPhone when it comes to the market, and maybe the exact things is going to happen in VR and AR world. Actually, we don't know where the design, ergonomy, and everything is around the headset is going to be in the next months, in the next year. So the role of people like me, or let me say, even if just a bit different, artists is try to, as I said before, push the boundaries to try to understand what could be in the next future. So I started, as Andy said before, in 2010 to think on, I don't know if out of the box or on the edge of the box. So anyway, I start to create some concept on the magazine. This is just an example of about the iWatch concept in 2010. I start to make the same things about the AR and VR. This was the first concept we designed about the Apple Lens. So how a device that is entering in the AR and VR environment can bring the appeal, the feeling of something that you want to wear every day. Because one of the things that is going to be different when a major firm like Apple will come in this kind of the market, how will be the approach that a giant like Apple could have on a device so different like an headset, like an AR headset or VR headset. So we try to understand and to mix what could be the fashion point of view of a design. This is an example of the same product you see before with a famous fashion brand, how these things can stay together, how this kind of device can change daily your approach to the life, and how this kind of design can be also, let me say, easy to wear, but also happy to show to the other people how what kind of device you are using this moment. So, of course, what are you seeing on the screen? As I told before, there's nothing maybe can come on the market in a short term, but anyway, is an artist point of view, is a concept point of view. We try to understand how this kind of device can change the approach of professionals, of people or user like me, people that use the computer for creativity. Later this year, maybe you know about this, the information come with a sketch of a VR headset that Apple is going to bring on the market. And we try to transform this kind of sketch that you see before in something real, in 3D object, and try to give a view on what the design could be really, also introducing some of the elements, concept that Apple is really good to, like new piece of hardware, new piece of interface, or a new piece of control, how to control this kind of device. And we tried to use the same design language that, for example, Apple brought in iPod Pro Max, as you see like in this last picture. And then a few months ago, the last concept we created is just an homage to the lunar round PP, the iconic glasses that Steve Jobs wore since the beginning. So we tried to maybe push the boundaries more than before to try to create something that is clear, an interpretation of style about what an Apple product could be in this kind of environment. Of course, there's no reference about the kind of hardware that this product could have, if it's possible or not create something like this. So it's not in the stage of an industrial designer because there are a lot of limitations, of course, about the hardware, about everything is around the product. It's a, I'd say, interpretation of an artist of how this kind of product can come in this kind of the market and change the perspective, change the approach that users are having right now about AR and VR. We don't know what will happen in the next few months, in next few years, but I guess that the entrance on the market of a player like Apple will deeply change.
Who's a yum
Deeply
yum?
change.
Who's my yum yum? I love seeing you.
Thank you guys for having me, and I hope you enjoy this kind of concept.
Thank you, Antonio. Love all your work. Barry, do we have any questions from the audience?
I apologize, I'm muted. Let's see if we have any questions. Why don't you wear chunky frames like your designs? There you go. Thanks, David.
Sorry, that's kind of a snarky one. I just like.
Okay. Okay. There's another question. There was a message to me. Have you been in touch with any hardware manufacturers about your concepts to see, how close to reality they could be?
Yeah, in my daily job, of course, I have contact with a lot of hardware and software companies about this kind of product, but I don't know, because actually the technology is a bit far from this kind of design that I showed you. I don't know about the VR headset, because we are talking about 8K 8K screen, 8K glasses, so we still don't know where Apple is. Maybe this will be just a dream, but actually I don't know that any of you think right now about my concept could be reality in few months and a few years. I don't know.
Probably a few years. Awesome. So, I mean, being an Italian, here's my other question. I addressed it another way to David, but do you have any connections at the Italian eyewear manufacturers? We had Chris Grayson at the last meetup, and he talked about the impact of the eyewear makers on the AR industry. So, have you been in touch with any of those, or how do you think their influence will be on future devices in the AR space?
Honestly, I don't know. I know that there are a lot of companies and producers in Italy that are trying to enter in this kind of field. I have no connection with them. There must be in past months some kind of, how to say, contacts, but there's nothing really serious. So I guess that they will try to approach this kind of market by the end of this year for sure.
Right, and definitely we see your aesthetic sense, which is really nice. Okay, one last question. What software did you use to create these designs in your
It's
work?
a mixed approach, because actually I'm using Shaper 3D on my iPad, so I get a fast sketch on iPad in 3D directly thanks to Shaper 3D, and the rendering usually are made by Cinema 4D and Redshift.
Thank you so much for your time and for sharing your
Thank
great
you,
work.
guys.
feel free to put your, I think I put your link in there. I'll put it out there again if I didn't. Or your email. Yeah, I did put adrstudio.sg. Thank you so
Thank you.
much
Thank you,
again.
Andy.
Thank you. Thanks for joining, Antonio. Love all your work.
Thank you, Andy.
If you ever want to come back on to share any new projects, you're always welcome. Thanks for coming. Awesome. Last but not least, one of my favorite consumer-facing software development companies, which I featured maybe too many times in the past. And I am the top six, the number 6 player on the leaderboard of one of their games, Epic Marble Run. So I'm excited to share that as well tonight. And excited to have Patrick O'Shaughnessy and Wade Tinney here with us from Patch Reality. Patrick is a software engineering executive with 25 years of combined development and management experience. He founded Patch Reality Inc. 10 years ago, where he develops unique augmented reality applications for mobiles and digital eyewear. And Wade Tinney's going to be joining him tonight. Wade is a product and market-focused executive with over 20 years of experience working on all manner of digital products, including games and mass-market consumer applications on a wide variety of platforms. It's so great to have you guys with us tonight.
Thanks, Andy. Patrick, you want to kick it off? I think you're muted.
Okay, there we go. Thanks for having us, Andy and Barry.
Thanks for being here.
There we go. We're optimized for video. Okay. Here we go. All right. So yeah, we're going to talk today about Epic Marble Run, which is a LiDAR-enabled AR game that we built. But first, just a quick intro to who we are. As mentioned in my bio, actually it's been 12 years, believe it or not. I guess we got to update the bio on the website. So yeah, Past Reality, we're a globally distributed, multiple award-winning augmented reality studio. And so we've been around for, like I said, 12 years, but it seems like the industry is just getting started still. Every year it seems like there's just fantastic amount of new stuff happening. These are some of our customers and partners, we recently a lot of our more recent work has been helping enterprise research and development departments and startups with AR strategy and implementation. And that comes in the form of proofs of concepts, user interface and UX design, as well as technical implementation of their roadmaps. And because a lot of our work, especially recently, is sort of under the covers and stuff we can't talk about, when we find time, we also create our own apps to try out new technologies and to show as a calling card. And Epic Marble Run is one of those applications.
Yeah, so when we saw the new last year's iPad Pro and iPhone 12 Pro with the LiDAR sensors built in, we really wanted to build something with that used that tech. We had worked with 60.ai to build games that kind of used real world geometry, and so we're really excited to get our hands on the LiDAR sensor. And we were looking for something because these are kind of skunkworks projects in between client work. We wanted something that was very simple, easy to pick up, that we could implement quickly, that used physics, and that would take advantage of the real world. So this is a short trailer video. The way Epic Marble works is that your goal is just to create the longest marble runs you can. So the user places a launch pad, and they place a target circle, that white glowing column you see there. And their only control, at least in this version of the game, is just the orientation of that launch pad. So it's kind of an iterative type of gameplay. You place the launch pad, and then you're repeating until you can hit the target, and you can also reposition the target. This is a run that Patrick is very proud of.
Yes.
I think it's still maybe the highest scoring run. The score in the game is simply the centimeters of in length that the ball rolls. And we left on the meshing that we get from the LiDAR, so you can see where it thinks the contours are. And as you can see, it's quite accurate.
Yeah, and so I'm going to talk a little bit about the benefits we found using LiDAR. As Wade mentioned, we had done other experiences that used the mesh of the world using 6D.ai, but they were limited to using just the camera and the inertial sensors on the device. And so we were excited to see how much better or faster LiDAR, what capabilities it provided, since it's using an active light source to detect the surroundings. So got a quick video here that shows some of the benefits. So the biggest benefit that we found starting out was that it's just nearly instant how quickly you get a scan out of the device. So in the past, we had to add a lot of tutorials on how to, get the user started and into the game. With Epic Marble, you just basically turn it on, you start waving your phone around, and it's automatically got a surface for you to play. The other thing you can see from the video here is that it's really good in low light situations. Even with almost no light, you're still getting pretty decent data about the surroundings. So once you have that, what does a mesh of the world provide you with from a gameplay standpoint? Well, the first and most important one, I guess, is for physics games anyway. You get to use the real world as it is, and things can bounce off it, can roll along the contours of a sidewalk, etc. You also get occlusion. So the real world occludes the virtual objects, in this case, the marble. And you'll see here, the other nice thing is that the LiDAR is continuously updating. So it let me do something like, this is in a very early build of the game. I was experimenting with how can I improve this run that I set up without moving the end goal. And so I took my shoes off, and you'll see that eventually I was able to get it in the goal because the LiDAR had detected now there were these shoes in the way. This is going to show sort of illustrate the occlusion. You'll see when it drops off the stairs, the ball disappears behind, which you would expect with a real marble. And in this case, the marble bounces off the bench, goes behind the bench, but then continues on. The other thing that this video shows is you'll notice as the ball rolls toward the edge of the grass, it bounces off the edge of the grass. So that shows you just how detailed a scan you're able to get. You actually can see that there's a difference in height between the sidewalk and the grass there. I guess the only drawback that that of course of using LiDAR, requiring LiDAR, is that not all devices have LiDAR, but from all indications are that at least Apple is probably going to include LiDAR technology in pretty much every mobile device that they ship going forward. So we're not too worried about that, and we'll see if Android catches up. I assume that they probably will.
So when we first started working on this, we realized pretty quickly that it was fun to watch the videos that each of us, we were kind of sharing videos back and forth, and we wanted to see what other players would do with it. And we also realized that a leaderboard that just had numbers, the length of runs, was going to be completely uninteresting. So one of the features of the game that we're really proud of is this video leaderboard. So after you've done a run and you've completed it, when you're ready to submit to the leaderboard, you do it again, and we ask you before each run, do you want this to be a leaderboard attempt? And if you check that box, then we record that run, And then at the end, we give you the ability to submit to the leaderboard. The added benefit is that you kind of know all the leaderboard scores are real and haven't been, someone hasn't found some exploit or something. So if you can see in this next slide or this next video, it's just browsing through the leaderboard, and for every player that shows up in the leaderboard, you can click in and see all of the runs that all the leaderboard runs that they've submitted. And we're currently about to release a web-based interface for browsing and sharing those leaderboard videos as well. And that's a good segue into kind of other plans we have for the game. So one thing that Patrick and I are very interested in general is just this idea of players creating geolocated content that can be seen and played with by other players. So in this case, that would be these marble runs. And so as we were thinking about how to make that possible, how to have them persist and notify people about them, we learned about a company called Recite, based out of Tel Aviv, who are working on an SDK for persisting virtual objects, in the real world in a specific location. So around the time we found out about them, we found out that they were running a demo contest. So we decided to enter the contest and create a version of Epic Marble with persistence between users. So this next video shows, one player playing a run and then another player walking through the neighborhood, discovering, being notified there's a run nearby and then playing that same run that was created by player A. So this feature is not in the version that's live in the App Store right now. Hopefully it will be soon, but as a side note, we did win that demo contest, so humble brag there. $5,000 prize, which we immediately used to buy Ethereum, and so we're hoping that in a year it'll be $1 million prize. But the other feature that we've been working on was we had this idea for another way to bridge the divide between the real world and the virtual world. And what we wanted to do was each day tell players about a bonus object. Could be a bench, could be a tree, it could be a stop sign. And that if they included that bonus object in their run, that they would get bonus points for it. And so we started looking into object recognition.
Yeah. Now, the interesting thing about object recognition is it's quite processor intensive. So we tried a couple of different open source implementations of TensorFlow that were available for Unity. Those didn't pan out. We were able to use Unity's native Barracuda, which is a machine learning platform that can basically suck in computer vision models that have been converted to the ONNX format. So what we found was, although it was chunky, we were able to tune it so that we could get a reasonable amount of gameplay. So the thing to note about object recognition, at least in this form, is you're not given any 3D information. You're only given information about, you're basically given a box that says, inside this box is these labels, these types of objects. So in this case, you see it found the fire hydrant, but in order to actually place the label in 3D and figure out where in space it is, we had to do a lot of inference. So what we're doing here is, if we have a mesh, which is great, which is very often the case, we kind of assume that the object in front of you that is, that we do a raycast forward and we say, okay, well, we see a stop sign inside this box. We know that there's something that's, a meter away. So we're going to assume that that's it. And then we take a bunch of measurements across time. I put a little bounding box. You can see I put in some of the video, I've shown the spheres that we're assuming that the object is inside that sphere, and then we find which spheres overlap. And it's, it was a lot of complicated math later. We sort of sometimes get reasonable results where the label for a fire hydrant actually shows up in 3D space near the fire hydrant. Um, all of that is to say, in the end, we weren't quite ready to ship something that had this in it, just because we don't want to frustrate players. We don't want them walking around a fire hydrant or some other object that's clearly in their field of view, but the phone doesn't know that that's the case because it didn't find it, or there's a false positive. They're looking for a potted plant, but it thinks it's a scissors, or vice versa. So we're probably going to continue to iterate on this. There's some interesting, promising developments in the computer vision space. Google just announced TensorFlow 3D, which might be a better candidate for something like this. But anyway, it's just another, I guess, to show another way that we're experimenting with new technologies all the time, and this was one of them.
So yeah, that's our presentation. Thanks for listening. Our emails are there. I'll also paste them into the chat window. We're currently looking for an experienced UI designer and always interested in talking to engineers. You can get Epic Marble in the App Store. I'll post a link into the Zoom chat for that as well. And we hope to see you guys on the leaderboard soon. Thanks for having us. We're happy to take any questions as well.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much. Great time, right as the timer ends. Perfect. So we had some awesome questions and a wonderful presentation. Thank you, gentlemen. Why did you choose LiDAR? I think you addressed a little bit of this in your presentation, but why did you choose LiDAR over 3D imagery technology or regular cameras?
Well, we had already done a lot of work with regular 3D camera, or, well, not with 3D cameras, but with, just regular, the camera that's available on the phone using 6D.AI's technology who were eventually acquired by Niantic, and it's now part of Niantic's stack. And we've also, but when Apple announced they were going to have LiDAR on the phone, we just knew that it was probably going to be awesome, and we wanted to be some of the first people to use it and play with it. So yeah, I mean, and LiDAR, gives you a lot better 3D depth information than you can get by just trying to infer it from computer vision. Although, systems like 6D actually do a pretty fantastic job of that. You're still just going to always get a better input, data input from, data input from LiDAR.
Great. What is the next physics feature that you want to add to this application?
That's a great question. Go ahead, Wade. You want to take that one? Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, we would love to. Right now, the aiming is just directional, or it's on one axis. We'd love to let people aim upwards as well, so it can kind of arc over obstacles, kind of more like a chip shot in golf or something. We'd like to introduce some other virtual objects that one could put down in order to redirect the trajectory of the ball. So like imagine like a directional booster pad that you could put down, and if the ball rolls over that, it can change direction. So I think in general, the idea is to introduce things that will help. The guiding principle has always been what will help people make more interesting videos ultimately to share, because what we want, it's a free game. I mean, what we really want out of it is to see cool videos that players are making and sharing. So that's our motivation.
Sweet. Yeah. Someone asked regarding more interactivity, if you could play other people's runs in their neighborhood or wherever they may find themselves.
Yeah, so that's the idea with that Recite demo, was showing an early version of that, and the goal is just that, to ultimately be able to notify people if you're walking around that there's a run nearby, and that if you go and play that run, that the person who created it would also get notified that someone had played their run, you know, and so they could kind of see there would be this interaction happening between players facilitated by the game. That's what we would love to. That's where we would love to get with this.
Yeah, more interaction and such. Okay, a couple more questions rolling through. How has it been working with Niantic's Lightship platform?
Yeah, we did some early work with Niantic's AR, an earlier version of their AR DK, which was really interesting. Kicking the tires. They have a lot of interesting features in the Niantic platform for doing things like object recognition. They've obviously integrated 6D's technology and improved it. We're actually looking forward to doing more work with Niantic's platform as client, hoping that clients want something developed on it. But yeah, they've got a pretty impressive stack of technology.
Okay, here's a technical question. How's the Tilt V in the background?
Tilt 5. The Tilt 5 is an amazing device. If you haven't, they're yeah, the Tilt 5.
What is that? Yes, give us a little background.
Yeah, this is probably one of the most unique AR headsets that's coming out, because it doesn't have a display that shoots light into your eyes. It has two projectors here, one projector per eye, and it actually projects onto this reflective board. And it has this nice fun wand. But you should check out their Kickstarter and their pre-order page. They haven't quite shipped yet, but it's been a ton of fun playing with it. I actually first had a play with the former before Tilt 5, the founder Jerry had created a company called Cast AR, and I got to play that about 8 years ago. So I've been interested in this technology since then, and it's fantastic because you basically have an infinite depth of view, infinite depth into the board, so you can see infinitely into the distance, and you get a very wide field of view, a lot of great color rendition. It's a ton of fun. So yeah.
Yeah, I thought Jennifer Harmon. Oh, she's a poker player. Okay, I think I've heard of that company. Interesting. Thanks for bringing it to our attention again. Awesome. Cool.
Yeah, if you can get them to come speak, that would be a fantastic presentation.
Another question from David. He's got some really nice questions. How do you communicate the range of the LiDAR in the interface?
We actually don't. I mean, we basically show the mesh of what we've collected. So it's kind of harder to see in the videos, but when you're playing, you see sort of the semi-transparent white lines that show where you've scanned. And I don't know, we personally feel that's enough to let you know what's scanned and what's not.
Yeah, it works pretty well as feedback on range, I find.
Yeah.
Alrighty, cool. Which AR glasses app store will be the first to offer Epic, Marble, and Real? And there also was a question about Android as well. So just in the regular Android store, if you'll be offered there as well.
We were thinking to release them for the deep water glasses, David. Wait for that app store.
Oh, Clearwater, nice.
Or Clearwater, excuse me.
It's
bounce off a fish.
Marble. We're gonna have to find a different metaphor than marble.
Yeah.
It's gonna be like buoy, rolling buoy.
Epic buoy.
Yeah, I mean, you could. I mean, just looking at it, I mean, you could. It's like based on like what Dana's talking about, like with kids' education, like you could add coefficients of friction and different types of surfaces,
Yeah.
materials, things like that, which would be cool for learning and for
Totally.
geeking, I guess.
Yeah, we'd love the another feature on a roadmap is different ball types that would have different masses, different abilities in terms of their launch pad and such. So, and it was really fun just during the development process, just the debug interface with sliders for all the different physics capabilities. It's really fun to adjust those and see what kind of action you can get.
When?
Yeah, I mean, building on that in the interactivity part, someone asked about, if you could do like bocce ball or billiards or any ball game where you're hitting someone else's ball, make it more competitive. That's a lot of
Yeah, I would love to do local multiplayer where
Yeah.
if there's a group of us, we can all, set up a hole, and then it's just like, it could be rapid fire who can get the most shots in a time frame, and so you can play defense against other people's, or you can, strategize in that way. So I think there's
nice.
a lot of
And
possibilities.
you're talking about video. Someone commented about the Dude Perfect. Again, I know that because of my kids. They
Yep.
love that, but I think they did have a commercial that they're in some TV commercial. They did make it mainstream, but they're huge. If you get those guys, sure, you'll
Yeah.
get some new
That would be
players.
awesome. Yeah, I love those videos.
Yeah, just send them our emails.
You guys have plans to create any other apps, or do you plan on like using all these innovative development strategies and putting them all into Epic Marble Run for now?
We're always kicking around new ideas. I mean, I think there's still plenty of room to run with Epic Marble. And it does. There's lots of things that there's more ideas than there are hours in the day. So I think we'll probably keep going with that one for the remainder of this year. And we would love to be ready should Apple release those AR glasses. We'd love to be ready and a little bit further down our roadmap to be one of the first games for it. So.
Sure. Awesome. Question from Evan. He wants to know why LiDAR over other 3D imagery tech that's available.
I think we answered that one already. I mean, basically the main benefit is that it's a direct sensor. It's directly sensing through time of flight how long a light beam takes to get from and back to the phone, and it's pretty hard to beat that. I mean, it can be combined with other sensors. It is combined because it's got the gyroscope, it's got the accelerometer, and also obviously a bunch of cameras. But yeah, and the other reason I guess is just that Apple put LiDAR on the phone, and it's now able to use it. It's not very easy to add like another 3D sensor to the phone. I mean, people have done it, like occipital, and we've played with those sensors before in the past. But it's much better to go with the phone that everyone has in their pocket, in my mind.
Awesome. Barry, any other questions for speakers?
I don't see any more questions, but thank you for handling that. If we have any other questions for any of the speakers now, we're glad to draw them out. And if they're still here, yeah, doing good on time today.
Yeah, thank you, Patrick. Thank you, Wade, for joining. It was a pleasure having you guys on.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks so much for having us.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Should we try doing breakout rooms, Barry?
Sure.
Okay. So we'll try this concept. We haven't done it since the first meetup. We'll do. I see Tom as like a shocked face, but yeah, we did this in the first 2 meetups, and we basically put all the participants in breakout rooms for 5 minutes. And the question that we facilitated for discussion was, how can you work together to help the other person in augmented reality in 5 minutes? So we'll give it a shot, see how it goes. Some people thought it was a bit awkward, but we'll do it again nevertheless. So if you can turn your camera on, please do so. And we'll do it. Speakers, are you okay with this? Like Patrick, Wade, are you fine with doing this?
Sure, yeah.
All right, cool.
Yeah, it's fine.
All right, cool.
I like people.
Okay. Okay, let's do it. Breakout room. So I'll create. All right, here we go. 3 to 4 room. Okay, awesome. Awesome. Well, I hope you guys got something out of that experience and you met someone new and interesting. Lucy, it's good to see you. Happy you joined us. And I think with that, we'll call it a night. Thank you, all the speakers, for joining us. All the presentations were excellent. Thank you, everyone who participated and paid attention to all the speakers. And thank you for being part of New York Augmented Reality. It was great to have you here.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Barry.
Next week.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Take care, everybody.
Thank you. Thanks, Patrick.
Yes. Thank you, Andy.
Great to see you.
Fantastic.
Thank you.